I set out to make a very different video than what you guys are now getting. I was looking into the differences between CGC and CBCS prices, and I wanted to show the premium that CGC prices have over CBCS. But I was very excited to find that for the first time in my memory, that gap is closing rapidly, and we are actually seeing some CBCS prices matching and even succeeding CGC priced books. My personal opinion is that CBCS is the best grading company in pretty much every single way. I've made a couple videos on that if you want to check it out, but I've never stopped completely using CGC, and a lot of it was because, frankly, a lot of the value was in CGC over CBCS. I'm going to share with you the data, and then I'm going to hypothesize on some stuff why it might be doing what it's doing. Don't forget to drop a like and comment what you think why we might be starting to see other grading companies be priced the same and actually sell as a CGC slab. And I'm going to show you guys examples where CBCS is still a lot shorter than CGC. But as I said in the intro, we also got a lot of examples in which it's now a match. I'll hit you with a big one here. Amazing Spider-Man 300. The 9.8 was selling for a full $1,000 less in the CBCS slab. This is kind of what we know. Again, it's like 66%. That's 2/3 of what you would get if you had gotten it graded with CGC. Same with ASM 252, 9.8. The CBCS sold for $720. The 9.8s with CGC sell for $1,100. Again, that's 66%. This is all the lowest end examples I could find for you. But a lot of what we're seeing is the big keys. G.I. Joe 21, the classic silent issue, in 9.4, sells for $240 if it's a CGC slab. The CBCS sold for $160. This is what we've been used to for a decade now, just under 70%. Same with X-Men 4, First Omega Red 9.8, selling for $75 in the CBCS, $110 if it's the CGC. About 70% of what a CGC slab will show. So Hulk 271, 9.6, 70%. Super Mario Bros. #1, again, we're in the 70% range of a CGC slab. Catwoman 51, 74%. Superboy 9, First King Shark, 74%. Venom 9, 9.8, First Eddie Brock, 77%. Batman 497, Bane Breaks Batman's Back, $68 CGC 9.8, whereas the CBCS was selling for $53. It's about 80%. I wanted to pause here to give one insight that I noticed in my data. For whatever reason, 90s high-produced 9.8s, Batman 497, X-Men 1s, all the stuff that had a huge print count, CGC still has the 90s. I don't know why those like $100 and under books definitely seem to be CGC still being the king. Not always the case though. Demon #1, first appearance of Demon in a 9.2, getting close here. A $477 2024 sale with CGC. CBCS is now right behind at $400 at 84%. Iron Man 55, first Drax and Thanos, in an 8.5 is $825 about at CGC. The CBCS was selling for $720, which is 87% of what the CGC book will sell for. The last example I'm going to give you of what's been going on with CBCS being lighter than CGC is a Submariner #1, the 9.2, which typically sells for $900 in a CGC slab. The same book sells at $800 with CBCS, according to this year's data. That's about 90% of a CGC price. Now, what I'm really excited to show you guys is the second half of this list, which I found keys that were not only comparable, but some examples of CBCS selling considerably even more than the CGC counterpart. Let's talk about some of the ones that are neck and neck. X-Men 266, the 9.8, the first full appearance of Gambit and cover appearance, $595, CBCS. $595 CGC. That is a 1-and-1 book right there. Remember I was saying that the 90s seem to belong to CGC? Well, I've definitely started to notice that for the $200 to $1,000 level, a lot of those priced books, people are starting to look at the CBCS as or more desirable. Secret Wars 8, 9.8, $470 for both the CBCS and the CGC. 1-and-1. Green Lantern 201, First Kilowog, 2024 sales, both of them at $200. 1-and-1. This is very insightful to me because honestly, when I get some CBCS slabs in, I basically price everything at 70% of what the CGC FMV will do. It's how I've been doing it for years. Maybe this means we can finally be comfortable enough to dethrone the industry standard, or at least make it comparable with these others, like a Hulk 340, one of the most desirable Todd McFarlane, otherwise Hulk or Wolverine related keys, $950, CGC and CBCS. That's cool to see a book like that be 1-on-1. Now, let's start to see ones in which CBCS is pulling ahead, because believe me, I've got many examples. Edge of Spider-Verse 2, first appearance of Spider-Gwen. The 9.8, we have a 2024 average at 613 for CGC, whereas the CBCS sales go for 650. That is a small lead, but it is 107% of the CGC value. Let's keep it going. It's not a one-off. Detective Comics 880, a 9.8. CGCs sell for $325. The CBCS sells for $350. Interesting, 108%. Let's keep it going. It's not a fluke. Hulk 180, the first appearance of Wolverine in a cameo. 2024 prices put the 8.5s neck and neck. $1,100 for the CGC slab, $1,200 for the CBCS. That is 110%. Iron Man #1, the 7.0 selling for $775 abouts for the CGC and $869 for the CBCS. That's 112% of the CGC price right there. For $337, we've got a $350 9.8 direct edition CGC slab, whereas we've got another 112% with $390 for the CBCS copy. Let me interrupt here and talk about one thing. For every 10 slabs you have of something that's CGC, there's probably one CBCS. People have been submitting a lot more to CGC. So could some of this be people just be wanting a CBCS copy because there are just frankly less CBCS copies that exist? Do people prefer the fact that the books are better protected, a solid fit, and no Newton rings? It could be so many things here. Conan the Barbarian #1, a 9.4, selling for $1,225 CGC average, whereas the CBCS sold for $1,400. That's a 114% over CGC. Kanto #1 found 2024 prices of a 9.6, selling for $95 with CGC, whereas CBCS is over 100 at 110. That's a 115 over CGC. Let's go with bigger keys. Commonly printed here. Wolverine #1, 1988 first patch, 9.8, selling for $240 with CGC and about $280 with CBCS. Wolverine #1, the Frank Miller, the limited series, selling for about $550 in a direct edition 9.8, with CBCS selling for $643. And there was another outlier that was in the 900s. I'm ignoring that, but regardless, just further proves that, yeah, it's over the CGC price. Crazy. DC Comics presents 26, first New Teen Titans, a 9.2 selling for $160, whereas a 9.2 of CBCS sells for $190. It's about 120% more. Batman 227, we've got a $2,000 CGC price, whereas the same grade sold for $24 in the year 2024. Once again, 120%. I think people are starting to want what's best for their book. And with a year full of turmoil and controversy, I think people are starting to prefer some CBCS goodness. I think we're seeing it. Detective Comics 400, First Man-Bat, a 6.0, sells for $350 at CGC. The CBCS sold for $450, 130%. Ultimate Fallout 4, the 9.8 sells for $930 right now with CGC, whereas I saw a $1,200 average with CBCS. You think, hey, that's got to be a fluke? Well, the 9.6 is doing the same thing. Higher values with CBCS 9.6. CBCS is pulling ahead on our Ultimate Fallout 4s. Interesting, 130%. I'll give it two more. Simpsons Comics and Stories. Number one, let's take the 9.4, sells for $75 at CGC, $100 with CBCS. Small but noticeable bump. Teen Titans 12, first appearance of the Batman Who Laughs. Let's take a look at a 2024 price, the $100 CGC, whereas the CBCS sells for $150. I think moving forward, we're going to start to see more similar prices across the grading companies. I never thought I'd say that because it felt like CGC had such a chokehold on the hobby. But this has been a year of funkiness and unfortunate news coming from CGC, seemingly left and right and left and right. And I think it actually has left an impact. It is possible that it is that. I do still think most people are uncomfortable to make that jump. Notice heavily with these big keys, the Giant Size X-Men, the ASM 300. Such huge differences with the CGC price towering over the CBCS prices. So my notes are as follows. The big expensive keys, I think I am still seeing CGC take the lead. What's interesting is the last 15 years worth of keys, I'm starting to see CBCS taking the lead. Also, anything in the $200 to $1,000 range, I was noticing plenty of examples where CBCS was taking the lead here. There are honestly so many factors that could be contributing to this, but all I know is this is great for CBCS fans. This is great for the hobby, us having more competition. And I don't know, are you guys going to start being more comfortable pricing your CBCS at the appropriate fair market value? Have you gotten tired of having to price your books at 70% of what the CGC sells for? This might be the time for you to put your stuff up for sale and see if you can get a little closer to the real full market value for them. Make sure to come on down to Sentiment Depot's Antiques and Collectibles, located at 238 West Delaware Ave in Pennington, New Jersey. Find so many great books for just $1 and the lowest prices on key comics around. Enjoy a huge selection of graded comics priced up to 20% lower than current fair market value. We are open from Wednesday to Sunday, closed Monday, Tuesday. You got a collection you want to sell? Bring that too. Can't wait to see you there.